All right, back on the morning drive on this Thursday morning. 241-1059 is our number, brought to you in part by Earl Copeland's Garage, 1000 North Ashley Street. If you got something wrong with your vehicle, go by and see Earl Copeland. 40 years he's been doing it right in Valdosta because he treats his customers right, and when it comes to auto repair, that is invaluable. Very honored to have in studio with me this morning Frankie Gay from right here in Valdosta. Frankie, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing, Chris?
Doing great. Good to see you, and thanks for being here. You've been working on a fascinating project that some people know about, but we want to let a lot of folks know about it, and it all surrounds your son Pruitt, who gave his life for this country back, I guess, almost 4 years ago?
Yeah, back in July 2008, Battle or Not.
Tell folks a little bit about that battle. It's been documented on 60 Minutes and some other places as well. But
it has. It's been a big media blitz about it. The battle is a very controversial battle, but it is documented by the Army and the Department of Defense as the most bloodiest, deadliest, largest loss of life battle since the war in Afghanistan started in 2001. It's been investigated many times, by the Department of Defense, U.S. CENTCOM Commander General Petraeus, the Army, the CSI study out of Fort Leavenworth. But that's not what the documentary is about. It's named Dealing. Dealing with the loss, dealing with life, coming home, and the heartache of losing a child in war. And it's been a battle. It's been a battle within itself.
I'm sure it has. Now, you, of course, dealt with that, which, unfortunately, we know of a lot of folks who have had people in the military defending our country and lose their life, and especially here in the military community with Moody Air Force Base, that is not unknown to us. But this documentary, like you said, kind of approaches it in a different way, I guess.
Yes, it does. It hits home. The documentary is a true life story about the chosen few. In the Battle or Not, there was 9 soldiers that give their lives, 27 wounded. And, they were on a 15-month combat tour in northern Afghanistan in one of the worst places in the Korengal-Wago Valley. And they only had about 2 weeks left before coming home when the attack happened. And the documentary Dealing, when I say true life, it's all live footage. So it's not for the faint at heart. It shows the story. It shows the battle. We interviewed all the surviving soldiers. And you hear it in their words. This is their story. This was their war. And I let them narrate it and tell it like it happened.
What inspired you to do this? I mean, there have been lots of folks who have lost sons, daughters in the military, but don't take it to this degree. What inspired you to put this together?
Well, one of the soldiers that lived that was with my son, about 3 years ago, we were on the Facebook talking, and one day he said, he said, Mr. Frankie, I finally figured out why God chose me. And I didn't know what he meant by that. So we kept talking for a few weeks, and he finally told me that, out of the battle on the top side, there was 10 soldiers, and, basically 9 were killed. He survived. He was one of them that survived. And he was chosen to tell this story. So he inspired me. And then it kind of grew from there. And he's one of the main characters in the documentary itself.
Now, you've got no experience in putting together films. I mean,
I've never done anything like this. I grew up Brits County working on a farm, cropping tobacco and throwing watermelons. So, I know what hard work's about. So I have a newfound glory for people who do this for a living. Yeah,
so whenever you had the idea, okay, I want to put together a documentary, how did it all work? I know you put a lot of time into it. So
yeah, it's been a 3-year project. It's kind of like this. I thought, who knows the story better than the men who survived? So, I invested a lot of heart and soul and personal, statue into this documentary by going and seeing each of these soldiers, visit them in their home state here in the country. We had to go to Italy to visit a couple of them at the post base in Vicenza. And when you sit down in front of these soldiers, you see the effects of war, because these are combat, hardcore fighting. And, the 173rd Army, that's one of the elite groups. And when you sit in front of these soldiers after a battle like this, it will change you as a person.
Oh, I'm sure.
And these soldiers, a lot of them suffer from PTSD. They all come back trying to deal with their life, trying to go to college, trying to maintain a normal life. It's just hard for them to do that.
Yeah.
And that's what the documentary Dealing talks about.
And I'm glad you're able to bring that to the forefront. And but this is not just some kind of a project you put together and hope that somebody takes notice of it. Recently, a lot of people have taken notice of it.
Yes, sir. We went to FilmCom up in Nashville, Tennessee 2 weeks ago. We were asked to come up there. We were chosen as one of the top films in the country. And we were at the Titan Stadium. We had to do some special presentations into the top 40 executives in this country.
And you're talking about HBO?
All of them,
yeah.
Absolutely. And anything good that could happen, I think the 9 guys that were smiling down on us that day, it happened.
Really?
And we've had many offers and many calls since then, and we're working with a PR firm and marketing distribution company out of Nashville, Tennessee now, and a company out of New York to take this documentary and distribute it nationwide in many, many theaters around this country.
They only invited like the elite, 30 films to show up or something like that?
There was 40 films
40
chosen
films.
out of a few hundred.
And yours was?
We were number 49, actually, so I guess there's probably 50. But you just, from what I understand, there was a couple thousand films throughout the world. It was international, not just local.
And after they heard the proposals, yours was ranked?
Yeah, when we showed it to them, there wasn't a dry eye. There was tears all throughout the room, and we had no expectations. I was way out of my league. I was with the top movie producers in the country.
Yeah.
And when I got back home, my phone started ringing and emails started blowing up, and it's been a blessing because my whole goal is for the country to see and to know exactly what goes on in the Afghanistan war. We see the effects, but with the war winding down, you're going to really see them, and this film really depicts it. It represents the 10-year Afghanistan war.
So from the on the documentary side, excuse me, what's the timeline now? Now that you got some people obviously interested, whenever folks say, "Well, I would like to see when I'm going to be able to see it."
Yeah, that's really in the works on an agreement. We're having attorneys meet next week. I know that we're talking 3 to 4 months, approximately 100, 120 days is what they said. We've got to re-edit it some. It was a 2-part, 3-hour documentary, so we're going to drop it back down to an hour and 45 minutes, and so we can put it in theaters.
That's going to be tough.
That's going to be hard to do.
Yeah.
I'm ready to put it behind me. It's been a blessing. It's been very healing, a lot of closure.
Yeah.
If closure exists.
Right.
It's taken a very big toll on my personal life, as a father and as a spouse. And so, it's been tough. It's been hard.
Now, not only the documentary, but there's also been some interest into actually making it a feature film, correct?
Yes, sir. We were contacted by DDMG, Digital Domain Media Group, out of Hollywood, California. That's owned by James Cameron, and his VP is Michael Keane, which we've got a contract with them to do a motion picture coming up in the next couple of years. We've already gotten a screenplay written, and it's pretty exciting, but the documentary hits home with me. But the motion picture, I'm sure it'll be good. It'll be really good.
Yeah, I hope so. And again, I was going to ask you, you somewhat mentioned it there. There's obviously you want this story to be known because your son Pruitt is an American hero. And again, anyone who goes what he went through and was what the elite of the elite is, as a father going through this, you want to make that story known, but I'm sure there were times when it had to break your heart to tell this story.
Chris, there was a time I couldn't even talk about it, and it chokes me up now just to think about it. So, it's been very healing, and I've had to really dig deep to put it behind me. And accepting your son's death or a child's death in the manner they were killed is one of the hardest things to ever do. And I don't wish it on anyone.
Yeah.
And when I say it's taken a personal toll, it has. And sometimes you just got to dig deep in your faith and keep your head high.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard on anybody. And all these soldiers that's coming home, I really pray for them because, I feel their pain.
Sure, and I know like anybody does when you have a son enter the military, it gives you a different appreciation for those men and women who have served this country now and in the past. So
yes, sir.
And some of you may have seen a little bit about this. If I know a couple of years ago, I may be wrong, or maybe last year, maybe the year before, whenever the World Series of Poker featured a little bit on it. I know you,
yes,
Frankie's an avid card player and played out in the World Series of Poker. And several of you from Valdosta, folks here from Valdosta wore the Playing for Pruitt T-shirts.
We did. That was very honorable. That was back in 2009. One of the goals my son wanted to do when he came back from Afghanistan was to go play in the World Series of Poker. All the soldiers played.
Yeah.
It was their taste of home. And, we were going, and it didn't happen. And so a few of my friends stood behind us, and me and my best side, we all went to Vegas and played in the main event. We didn't win any money, but that's not what it was about.
Yeah.
We really had a good time, and it made it very honorable to represent all the troops, men and women that in harm's way.
And I know the ESPN did a feature on you while you were out there, and,
Yes,
and I know a lot of people did see that as well. And saw you with and actually it was interesting because I remember you and I talking back around that time where Pruitt would actually call you from Afghanistan, and that was kind of one of the ways, ironically through poker, that you guys kind of connected a little bit.
Absolutely. It was our connection in war. You know, the guys over there, they'd fight all day. You know, this platoon, Chosen Company, they had, 15-month tour. Mm-hmm. They had 1,100 firefights. And that's unheard of. You know, when you have to fight all day and you come in at night and try to play poker just to keep a sane mind.
Yeah.
And he'd call all the time, and I'd speak with him and just to listen. You know, I didn't say much. I just listened to him.
Yeah.
And that was hard. I didn't let him know that, how bad it hurt.
Yeah.
But looking back, it's bittersweet. And ESPN did a good story. I appreciate them. NBC Dateline came down and did a couple 1-hour stories about the Battle of Wanat. They call it a father's mission. So, people can go online and research that.
Yeah.
And since then, we set up some websites and web pages.
Yeah, if folks do, I was going to say, if folks do want to find out more information, www.thebattleofwanat.com.
Thebattleofwanat.com and thechosenfewflags.com.
There you go. You can find out more information, and we'll keep you updated on the status of that documentary, and hopefully within the next months or year, however long it takes, it'll be on television. And I really respect what you've done, Frankie, because I know, well, I can't imagine, because I've not been in your position, how tough this has been, but I do know that it has been tough on you and has been very emotional. And also on those families who had soldiers. I'm sure you've been in touch with them, as you say, and I'm sure are they excited about the documentary? Or?
They are. It's been, I feel like I've had a couple of them just tell me straight up, Frankie, you saved my life. And that really speaks volumes, because these soldiers come home 3-4 years later, they still cannot talk about it.
Yeah.
They can't talk to a therapist or their family. And for some reason, we connected, and they could open up and talk to me. And their whole goal was to have the story told and their memory forever memorialized. That's the reason I started a new company here in Valdosta recently called chosenfewflags.com. And I hope that I can help Valdosta become the most patriotic city today in this country. And I think every business and every homeowner should fly or represent a flag in honor of all of our soldiers, men and women across this country and throughout abroad. And if they want to go to our website or give us a call at Chosen Few Flags, we'll be glad to help them and send them a flag, or they can check out the website and look for themselves.
What a great idea. And I urge everybody to do that, as we can't be, I don't think you can ever be too patriotic, for sure.
I agree. The war is winding down. The soldiers, none of them think so.
Yeah.
But time will tell, I would assume.
Yeah, and I tell you, just recently, last week, I got to go on a 2-day tour of the Moody Air Force Base, and I just think anytime you're around folks like that who just deal with that every day, and you talk about the tour that Pruitt went through, when you see those guys, I mean, they just view it as their duty, their job, and you rarely get complaints about it, although you know how tough it is on them. That's just what they signed up for. And
it is, Chris. I had one of the soldiers, several of them, when they sign up, they're signing a blank check, and they sign it with their life. They're willing to give their life for our freedom. And I think that's the understatement of the year, because people take that for granted. We forget. And my goal is to never forget the fallen, and honor the living as well. And let's not forget these men and women who's coming home, because it's been a hard war.
Yeah.
And if anyone want to watch this documentary, Dealing, it'll show the story. It's the actual battle. It shows the interviews of the soldiers. It shows the fights, the living, the daily and nightly things they go through in Afghanistan. If you want to see what's really going on over there, check out the documentary Dealing.
Absolutely.
And we've had a lot of support in Congress. Congressman Jack Kingston has been more than helpful.
Great.
Senator Chambliss, Senator Webb, Akaka, Murray, McCaskill, I can go on down the list. Congress has been very supportive, and I really appreciate all their help at Washington, D.C. And, today I saw on the news we're cutting the budget for the military, and it just absolutely made me sick to my stomach. Yeah. It did.
It is. That's what keeps us free. And certainly, if you want more information about the subject of the documentary, www.thebattleofwanat, that's WANAT.com, chosenfewflags.com as well. You can find out more about Frankie's latest project, and we'll keep you up to date on the documentary and when it will be airing and what time over the next few months. And Frankie, God bless you for what you've done, my man. I think a lot of people are going to be touched by this, even those who are close to you and maybe those who knew Pruitt, those who knew other folks in the company nationwide, but also those of us who didn't know any of them, but just know that they were heroes. So.
Thank you, Chris. It's been an honor to talk to you, and I appreciate you, man.
Good to see you this morning.
All right, you too.
We'll take a break and come right back. More of the Morning Drive coming up right after this. News Talk 105.9. This is WVGA.